So today we're gonna focus on back bends, and one of my teachers, Judith Lasser, says, if you happen to be aging, do more back bends. And I love this advice because when you think about what do they do for your body, you think about your spine and the mobility that you get when you do that action, just back bends, and how much space you get for breath, how much just mobility you get in keeping your spine supple. So we're gonna start with just one single folded blanket like this towards the back of your mat, but with room, so maybe like a third of the way back. And then also have a couple of blocks for a little bit later towards the top of your mat like that. So they're in this low position on purpose. And then with this blanket, you're gonna come back and catch your shoulder blades on it. And then let your shoulders, so start with your feet flat, let your shoulders roll off. So it should feel like the lower tip of your shoulder blade is caught on the edge of the blanket. And the back of the shoulders come off, the arms go out like so. And then cross your legs. Just kind of let your, and if that's not comfortable, I should have said that before you came back. If you feel any strain at all in your inner thighs, put your blocks under your thighs. And take a moment to, with your hands, to just scoop the back of your head in a way that your forehead tilts a little bit more towards your chest. You feel a little length in the back of your neck. And then let your eyes close as you drop your gaze down towards the heart center. Back teeth apart, tongue in the floor of the mouth. So you feel a little bit of extension in the back of your neck. And bring your awareness to your breath. Noticing your natural breath in and out. And practice a sequential inhale followed by a full exhale. Let me talk you through it first and then I'll guide you through it. So the sequential inhale starts in the lower part of your abdomen and you breathe in to the low belly and then you pause briefly. And then you breathe into the mid to upper abdomen, pause briefly. And then the lower lungs, pause briefly. And then the top of the lungs, pause briefly. So it's a 4-stage followed by a complete slow exhalation. And so take a regular in-breath, a regular out-breath. And then begin. Inhale, low belly, pause. Inhale, mid-belly, upper belly, pause. Inhale, lower lungs, pause. Inhale all the way to the top of your collarbones, pause. Exhale from the top to the bottom slowly. Inhale, 1, low belly. Inhale, 2, mid-belly. Inhale, 3, lower lungs. Inhale, 4, top of lungs. And exhale slowly from top to bottom. Continue at your own pace. You might even just use the count to help you center on that sequential in-breath. You can try blowing out slowly through your mouth on the out breath. Hold 2 more rounds in this way. And then return to your normal breath and just notice before we transition out of this pose. The space in your body, especially the space between your hip bones, your rib cage, all the way up to your collarbones. And then slowly bend your knees up. And lift enough for roll to the side to slide that blanket under your shoulder blades out, and then return back with your knees bent, your feet flat, the back of your shoulders on the floor. And spread the fingers, feel the whole handprint press down. Feel the heels press, your toes get light. And then on the inhalation of your breath, bring your arms overhead as you lift your hips, keeping your knees pointing the same way as your toes. And then on the exhalation of your breath, lower everything down. Bring in that 4 count in breath. Don't worry about where it goes in your body. Just count to 4 on the in breath. Slow exhale as you lower down. You can blow that one out through your mouth if you like. Do that 2 more times. Good, and land here on the floor. Observe for a moment the back of your body on the floor, particularly the back of your sacrum, the spot behind your hip bones. Take your elbows by your ribs now. Anchor the elbow tips down and coil your shoulder blades a little bit more under your body. Bring your hands flat on the floor. Drop your chin towards your chest. And then as you inhale the breath, come into bridge pose, lifting your chest towards your chin. Maybe walking your feet in a little bit. Keep the knees pointing the same way as the toes. Roll your shoulders under a bit more. And if you have the reach, clasp your hands. Keep your gaze towards the chest. Come back into that 4 count in breath. Slow exhalation. Feel the shoulders and heels press. Note your tailbone and draw up towards the floor. Press into your heels. And lift the hips just a little higher. No effort, like not over efforting, just making space in your body with that 4 count in breath. Slow and steady out breath. And one more in breath like that, 4 counts. And then this exhale, release the hands slowly. Lower your back to the floor. Now scooch a little closer to your block. So roll to the side, use your hands if you need to do that. And then just watch what you're going to do with these blocks actually before you come back down. So you're going to take your whole foot, or at least if your feet are longer than mine, go figure if they are. Make sure your heel is on the block. So your heel's on the block, and we're going to come back into bridge pose, starting with the hands on the pelvis and sliding the pelvis towards the knees. I'll talk you through a few more subtleties, but this is where we're going. So bring your heel, at least your heel, fine if your toes dangle off, onto your blocks and scooch close enough so that your knees are over your ankles. And take a moment here to lift your toes so that you can feel the ball of your foot on the block, your heel on the block. And then relax the toes, take your elbows by your ribs. Press the tips of the elbows down, coil the shoulders under, hands by your hips. And gaze towards your chest. As you inhale, lift the hips up. Roll the shoulders under. Clasp the hands if you have the reach. Fine if you don't. It's fine to have your hands flat. If you have the reach, do clasp. Actually, sorry, take your hands to your pelvis for a moment. and glide the pelvis towards your knees. So it should feel like a little scoop. You're gliding the pelvis towards your knees. Press into the heels, point the knee tips straight out from the hips. And then take the hand clasp or hands flat on the floor. You feel the heels root on the exhale, the back of the shoulders press. Come into that 4 count in breath. And slow, steady out breath. Tailbone dropping towards the floor. And take one more in breath in that way. And then as you exhale, release the hands in slowly. And lower the hips back to the floor. Good. Take your blocks just towards the top of your mat. Come over onto all fours, come back up. And come on over. So have your blocks just at the top of your mat, we'll come to those later. Come onto your belly and take your thumb and index finger together and put your forehead there and take your big toes to touch. So scooch forward on your mat enough so your feet are on the mat. Your big toes touch, fan out your little toes. So spread them out. And feel your thigh muscles hug in so your kneecaps lift off the floor. And now just really lightly, this is a subtle action. I want you to think of doing it from your hip. Reach your right foot a half, like your right big toe, glide from the hip. So your right big toe goes away from, towards the back of your mat, maybe a half foot longer than your left. And then glide it back up, removing from the hip, and slide the left big toe a little longer than the right. And go back and forth. Slowly feel that movement in your pelvis as you glide the legs from side to side. Good. And land with both the big toes together. Fan the toes out. Take your hands by the sides of your legs with your palms flat. Take your forehead to the floor. Hug your thigh muscles snug. And as you inhale your breath, lift only your legs just a little bit. They don't have to come high. Keep your knees straight. Hug your thigh muscles in. Tailbone to the ceiling. And exhale, lower down. Reset. Fan the toes out. Hug your thigh muscles snug. Tailbone to the ceiling. And as you inhale, lift up. Keep your palms pressing the mat for your kind of balance. Good, and then exhale, come down. And one more time like that. Inhale, come up. Good, exhale, come down. Notice just that area, your sacrum and your low body. Take your feet now, almost as wide as your mat, maybe pinky toes as wide as your mat. So feet wide apart. Get the little toe side of the foot to press. Hug the thigh muscles in. Notice your inner thighs. Think of when you lift the tailbone towards the ceiling, inner thighs go upward. Take your thumbs now by the sides of your chest. Coil your elbows towards each other. Inhale, come into cobra. And exhale, lower down. 2 more times, just checking the chat message I got in here. Elbows go in, inhale, come up. And exhale, come down. Last one, inhale, come into cobra, anchor the little toe side of the foot, good. And then exhale and come down. And take your hands mid-chest, come up to hands and knees. So knees are under the hips, and then take your forearms, your elbows on the floor, spread the fingers, anchor the palms. Feel the whole handprint press. Now bring your awareness to the spine between your shoulder blades. So inhale your breath and come into like a cat pose. So arch that part of your spine towards the ceiling, let your head drop. Again, spine between your shoulder blades is awareness. drop that spine between your shoulder blades between or towards your chest and lift your heart up. So like a cat or cow pose rather. And go back and forth a couple of times. I know it's a little odd to do this on the elbows, cat cow, but I really want you to feel, to notice the spine between your shoulder blades as you move in this way. So it should feel gooey. It should feel like it's sinking. Pause here in this position, the cow position, the spine between the shoulder blades really getting soft. Anchor the whole handprint down. Now take your feet back into a forearm plank and squeeze the shoulder blades even more towards your spine. Spine between the shoulder blades, definitely hold there. Moving away from the ceiling. So in class, people, and probably you and mine as well, the spine between the shoulder blades needs to drop more. So try dropping your knees to the floor. That's it, honey. If that helps, good. And then do drop your knees to the floor if they're not already. Take your knees a little wider, come back into child pose. In child pose, on purpose, take your elbows wide, at least as wide as your mat. And here, as you exhale your breath, you should be easier to access that feeling of the spine between your shoulder blades dropping. As you inhale the breath, you can use the 4 counts. Feel breath go all the way up to your collarbones, and as you exhale, spine between your shoulder blades, just really let it get soft. Good, now inhale, come up to all fours. Take hold of your mat with your hands. Thumbs are forward, knees under your hips, at least hip distance apart. And pull your mat apart, like you're trying to rip it in two. And then find that space between your shoulder blades, that part of your spine. Good. From here, we're going into down dog. So keep the hands reaching away from each other. Excellent. How we try bending your knees, get length in your spine, always air there. Take the armpits towards the top of your mat a little more. Bring your awareness again to the spine between your shoulder blades. Just feel it moving towards the chest. Notice the front of your body on the in-breath. Lots of space. So if you feel like your low back is rounding, just bend your knees and get air on the side of space. Lengthen your spine. Then slowly take your hands now, flatten your mat. Start to walk them back towards your feet. Take your heels down, bend your knees. Just go part way back here. And then slowly walk your hands back a little more, bend your knees, hold the elbows, let your torso drape down, let your head relax down. Good, take your hands to your hips, take the elbows back, take your time coming up. Release the hands down, come on to the top of your mat now. And have your blocks in a tall position here up top. Bring your hands, sides of your body, take your feet parallel to your mat. Reach your fingers downward. Take your tailbone slightly back. And then take the arm bones back a lot, as much as you can with the elbows straight. Just reach, reach, reach. Spread the palms, reach the pinky fingers out of the hand back, and then rotate the armpits or towards the ceiling a little more. So it should really feel like your shoulder blades are coming together. Yeah, don't let the thighs creep forward though, keep them back. And take a breath here all the way up to the collarbones. Now exhale, rotate the arms outward, slide them down towards your legs a little bit more, thumbs backward. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, lift the tailbone as you take the arms back. So a little standing back bend. Reach the pinky finger side of the hand upward. Notice the space here in the front body. Thighs go back, tailbone goes up. Exhale, hands through heart center. Take your hands onto the blocks now, and then inhale, come into a flat back here. So rotate the biceps forward, crown of the head forward, thigh bones backward. Find a long in-breath here. Good, exhale, soften the elbows, soften the knees, come down. Take your hands all the way down to the floor and step back into plank pose here. Rotate the armpits forward, front of the head forward. Good. And then exhale, drop the knees down. Take your forearms back onto your mat. Look at the outer forearms, line it up parallel with the edges of your mat. So it's not wrists and elbows out, it's wrists and elbows in the even line. And then rotate the inner bicep towards the top of your mat. Find the spine between your shoulder blades. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, and come into what I'll call down puppy. So it's like down dog, but you're on your forearms. Yeah, so really bring your awareness to that spine between the shoulder blades, feel it come forward. There's the top of the thighs back. Find your breath here. Good, exhale, lower the knees. Take the knees wide, big toes to touch, elbows go wide. Chest, just let it melt towards the floor. Child pose, but really let the front of the chest drop towards the floor, the spine between the shoulder blades gets up. And then inhale, come forward onto your belly again. And take a block all between your eyes. And so this is the tall position. And it's going to go on the top of the thighs as high as you can get it. Yes, it's awkward getting it there. And then hug into the block a lot. So press the tops of your feet down, fan the toes out. Feel the little toes side press. And then hug into the block and spin it towards the ceiling a little bit. It's not going to go very far. It's more the action of the thighs that you're after. So just imagine you're rolling the block towards the ceiling. Take your thumbs by the center of your chest. Coil the elbows in. You're not going to go very high. Come into a little mini cobra. Notice that you can't go that high with the block. Keep hugging the block, tailbone up. And then exhale, come down. Now tuck your toes under. Hug into the block a lot. Come up to hands and knees. And then into downward facing dog with the block. That's okay. Try again. I'm trying. That's part of the challenge, right? So hugging into the block, spin it behind you. Spin the upper biceps and armpits towards the top of your mat. You can still bend the knees if you're hugging the block. So air on the side of space in the spine. And then inhale, look between your hands. Exhale, keep hugging the block, come into plank pose. We're going to transition from plank into a modified up dog. So it's a little half step closer to your hands. Hug into the block a lot, send it to the ceiling, and coil the chest up between your hands. So, let's see, look this way, yeah. So, shoulders are over your wrist, block is up to the ceiling, collarbones are up to the ceiling, and it's that block going to the ceiling that keeps my low back from collapsing. So hug into the block a lot, tailbone to the ceiling, find your low belly, and lift up and press back into downward facing dog. Now this down dog should feel a little restorative compared to that. So armpits forward, biceps forward, hug the block a lot. Inhale, gaze forward. We're going to try that one more time. So come into plank pose. Take your feet half step closer. Roll the chest forward a lot. Send the block to the ceiling, to the ceiling, to the ceiling. Tailbone to the ceiling, collarbones to the ceiling. Find your breath. Good. Now exhale, drop your knees. Slide your hips back, set that block off to the side, thank goodness. Come back into child pose. Inhale, come on up to all fours. Come back into downward facing dog. Spin your heels out wide. Anchor the thumb to index finger, handprint part of your hand down. Inhale your gaze forward between your hands. Exhale, walk your feet to your hands, line your feet up to distance and parallel. Hold the elbows and drop in, forward bend. And take the hands to the hips, coil the elbows back, take your time. Inhale, come up. Hook your thumbs here. Reach, press the thumbs away from each other, reach the arms up. Take the thigh bones back. Now this time, take the tailbone, don't tuck it a lot under your heels, just point it a little more towards the floor. And then take the arm bones a little bit back. Good, and then exhale, release the hands by your sides. Take your hands to your hips, keep your right foot forward, take your left foot back so that your left heel points towards the back edge of your mat. And then spin both hips forward, index fingers on your hip pointers. So if your hips don't come parallel to the mat, then step that left foot left. Coil your elbows towards each other a lot. So standing prep for warrior one, right here, just notice the shape of your spine, tailbone lifts, sternum lifts, collarbone spread, shoulder blades towards each other. All that is back bending. So see, can you keep that back bending shape as you bend your right knee by dropping the top of the right thigh bone down. You can slide the foot a little more forward if you need to keep the knee over the ankle. Mostly though, keep this back bending shape. It's not leaning forward. It's tailbone lifting, chest lifting, thigh bone dropping. Feel both heels press. And then take your thumbs to your shoulders and inhale, take the arms up. Exhale, top of the arm bones back. Air on the side, hands wider than your shoulders rather than narrower. Inhale, lift up all the way through the pinky finger side of the hand. Exhale, feel the heels press. Feel this kind of the roll of your spine, a little back bending position here. That's warrior one, is a back bend. Take one more in breath here. Exhale, hands to your chest as you straighten the leg. And step that left foot forward. And step the right foot back. And angle the foot just 10 degrees turned out more than the front foot. And take it to the right as far as you need to so that both hips turn to the front. Coil the elbows towards each other. Lift the tailbone upward. Lift the sternum upward. Again, notice the shape here of your spine. And then drop that left thigh bone without compromising the shape of the spine. So it's a standing back bend. With your hands in your pelvis and elbows back, anchor your hips to your heels downward. And then take your thumbs to your shoulders. Air on the side of hands wider than shoulders. Reach the pinky finger side of the hand up. And as you exhale the breath, take the arm bones back. Keep your gaze downward towards your nose, towards the floor. Towards the back of your body, that's just gentle curve back bend here. Take another deep breath in through your pinky finger side of the hand. Good, exhale, hands to your chest, straighten that. Knee, step that back foot forward. Coming to Tadasana here, just kind of observe. Thigh bones back, heart up. Anchor the heels, clasp your hands behind your back, and reach the hands away from your hips. And rotate the chest a little more upward. Exhale, release the hands by your sides. And try warrior one more time on each side. So take that left foot back, angle the heel back. Pull the elbows back with the tailbone up. Exhale, drop the thigh bone down. So again, just note that gentle curve in your spine. As the hips root down, the chest goes up, that adds to the curve. Even the back of the neck is a roll of kind of the skin from the back of the head rolling over the front of the face. Take the thumbs to your shoulders, inhale, come up. As you exhale the breath, let the hips drop down, the heels root down. As you inhale, find that 4-count flow from the bottom of your belly to the top of your collarbones. Feel that gentle curve in the back of your body. And then exhale, release the hands as you straighten that front leg. Step your left foot forward and your right foot back. And spin the pelvis forward. Anchor the heels downward. Coil the elbows in. And lift the chest up. Exhaling your breath, drop the top of the left thigh bone down. Squeeze the elbows even more towards each other. So find the shoulder blades going in towards your spine. Good, and then take your thumbs to your shoulders, inhale the arms up, and exhale, take the arm bones back. Inhale, find that 4 count roll of the breath from the bottom of your belly to the top of your collarbones. Exhale, find that feeling of ground, hips to heels. And take one more in breath here. Exhale, hands to chest, you straighten the leg. And then step that back foot forward. And come back to Tadasana. So line the little toe sides of your feet parallel to the mat. Take your thighs back. Take your index fingers to the front tip of your pelvis. So it should feel like they're angling a little bit down. So some people have a really big arch in their back and it angles a lot down. I don't want that. Other people have a pelvis forward, thighs forward, and they go back, not that. So it's just a little angle downward, just find that. And then bring your hands by your side. Spread the skin of the palms, use the fingertips towards the floor. Find your 4 count breath here. Find that slow exhalation. And as you tend to the breath, just observe your body. Good, and then come out of Tadasana. Take a blanket.
Is anybody mind if I turn this down?
Oh, no, yeah, you turn on. And have it in a open fold, so you don't have a whole lot of blanket under your knees, so make it smooth, and then take your blocks next to your knees. And have a sit on your heels. If you need a blanket to sit on your heels, take your second blanket and put it on top of your heels. Keep your hands on the block. So we're going to come into Ustrasana, but before we do, we'll do it from Virasana. So in Virasana, shoulders are over your hips. Squeeze your elbows back. Just let your hands be let in the blocks and squeeze the elbows back. Your ankle okay there, honey?
I'm trying to decide. No.
We're gonna come up, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That'll be
so from here, come on up. And then next time we come into that, I'll show you another adjustment. Tuck your toes under. Take your hands to your hips and coil your elbows back again. With your hands and your hip bones root downward from the hips to the knees, coil the heart up a lot. Squeeze the elbows towards each other a lot. Keep your hips right where they are. And take your hands lightly to the blocks. So you can slide the blocks forward if it's a challenge for you to keep the hips where they are. Or you can slide the hands back if you have a little more space. Definitely keep the hips over the knees. Lift the tailbone, lift the chest up, and start to turn your hands out so your thumbs rotate back. Yeah. So again, you're looking for a gentle, natural curve from the tailbone to the back of the head. Inhale, breath all the way up to your collarbones. Find that 4 count breath. Exhale slowly. And then inhale, come back up straight. And then as you exhale and sit back into Virasana again, so if you need support under the ankles, you can take this blanket, come forward at it so that you're supporting the ankle bone right under a fold. Yeah. And then come back up to Virasana. And slide your elbows back again, hands in the block. So let your whole palm rest in the block here. You can even press down to lift up in the spine a little bit. Draw your elbows towards each other. This, just right here, is a great position for so many things. It's a gentle back bend. The position of your feet is really nice for kind of countering wearing shoes all day. So just notice that. As you inhale the breath, again, space, the collarbone should feel like they're lifting to the ceiling. The shoulder blades, as you draw the elbows back, should go towards your spine. So all that's gonna stay the same. We're gonna come up again, another round of Ustrasana. So tuck your toes under, take your hands to your hips, coil the elbows back, tailbone lifts. So start to think skin lifts away from your hips, the ribs lift away from your hips, the chest lifts away from the hips, and start to coil back without compromising the hips, staying aligned over the knees. Then take your hands on the blocks, and you can position the blocks again as far back as you have room for. Do rotate the hands outward so the thumbs go back. Feel the back of your neck, just following the natural arc of your spine. So it's not dropping way back. It's extending out. Your gaze towards your nose. Find your 4-count breath here. And then inhale, lift the head up. And exhale, sit back in Virasana. Then pick your blocks off of your head. And actually strap. Take your blanket and fold it once like this, and another time like that. Like so. And then you're gonna come onto the blanket, so it's midway on your mat. You're gonna come onto the blanket with your hip bones right at the top of the blanket. So the front of the hip bone should be aligned right on that roll of the blanket. And you take your big toes or your little toes feather as wide as your mat. Take your hands by the chest again. Anchor the tops of the feet down, curl the elbows towards each other. Inhale, come into this cobra. Notice the difference here, just with the support of the blanket. Point your elbow tips back, draw, like press the hands down towards the blanket and draw the chest up. Find your breath here. Good, exhale, slowly lower back down. Now bend your knees up. This is where you might need a strap. So we're gonna come into bow pose by holding the ankles with the knees wide apart. And if you can't reach the ankles, you can use the strap. And reach it around behind your legs like that. Right with your forehead on the ground. Your knees wide, the tips of your hip bone on the roll of your blanket. And then as you inhale the breath, think feet straight up to the ceiling. Lift the arms straight up to the ceiling. Lift your gaze slightly forward. Bring your awareness to that curve of your spine between your tailbone and the back of your head. And take another in breath here. Exhale, lower down. Just rest your forehead on your hands. Let your feet just rest. We're going to do that again. If you need to adjust, make sure your hip bones are on your blanket. Do adjust. And then go ahead and bend your knees. Flex your feet like they're standing on the ceiling. Reach back and hold the ankles. And then pause. Just take your forehead to the mat. On the in-breath, lift your legs and arms straight up to the ceiling. Your feet are still standing on the ceiling. And find your breath all the way up to the collarbones. Press the shins into your hands. And draw the heart more up. Notice your neck. If it's arched or feels like it's kinking, just drop your chin a little. So it feels like a smooth arc from the tailbone to the back of your head. Good, and then exhale. Lower down, bring your hands again. In front, rest your forehead. And take a couple breaths here. The last one. Go ahead and bend your knees. Stand on the ceiling with your feet. Walk your hands back. Place your forehead down. So knees can go as wide as you need for comfort. Do flex your feet, reach the toes back. Inhale, lift the arm bones, lift your leg bones. Press your shins into your hands. Let your breath just flow. Maybe even 4 counts on the in-breath. Slow and steady on the out-breath. One more in-breath here. Good. Exhale. Lower down, rest your head. You shift your hips a little side to side and blanket. So we'll come back up to all fours. I'm going to take 2 blankets now. The one is going to stay in the shape that you have. And the other one, you're going to make a roll, and how much of a roll depends on you. So let me show you what the roll for here. So the rolled one is going to go in front of this one. And what we're looking to do is to kind of find that natural curvature of your spine, that open kind of back bend, but do it in a supported way. Back a little bit. So I want this blanket, the rolled one, to support my lumbar curve. I'm not sitting on it, but it's definitely under the lumbar, the flexible part of your low back. And then I want the other blanket to be pretty much where it is on me, maybe a little closer. I want my shoulders to roll off that. So I'm using the blankets to support a gentle reclined back bend. So as you're adjusting, I'll show again. So one option might be if you're longer in the torso, where you have more flexibility in your low back, you can make that roll bigger. You see, you're not sitting on any blankets, you're sitting on your mat. You're not sitting on any blanket, so yeah, spin it around. So the extra part of that roll, if you're not using the whole row, it goes on top of the other one. Yeah. And then your sitting bones are definitely on your mat, not on a blanket. And you're gonna start to come back. You can pause on your elbows and see, does this feel like enough height for me? Too much height, you can come up and adjust it, whatever you need. The other one is a close enough so that my shoulder blades definitely are on it. The tips of my shoulders go off of it. The back of your head on the floor. So again, it should, hips definitely stay on your yoga mat. Don't let them lift up. So adjust your, no, loosey down with your hips. Take your feet wide apart and let your knees knock in. Take your thumbs to the back of your head and rotate your skull so your chin drops a little more towards your chest. Let the arms rest out. Palms are up, elbows are down. And we'll come back here into awareness of your breath. And feel your tailbone dropping towards the floor. And feel that supple shape of your spine as it's supported in this way. And come back into observance of a 4 count of breath on the in-breath. Inhaling from the bottom to the top. And then before counting on the out breath. Good, then gently to come out of the pose, just walk your feet a little closer together, bring your hands out to your belly, roll to your side, and then gently come up. Take that roll blanket out of the way, take this back folded blanket off to the side for a moment, watch what you want to do next. So you're gonna have one block, you're gonna start flat on your back. And you're gonna slide one block in the low position under your hips, but then take the blanket and put it there as well. And then I'm gonna show you options before you do, because I don't want you to thin your head and neck once you're in the pose. So we'll start with a little grounding, just hands on the front of your hip bones, sacrum rooted. And then you might try, so resting here is fine. You might try walking the feet out. Being mindful to not let your ankles splay out, but rather roll towards each other. And reach the toes away from your hips, so that feeling again of the thigh bones this time gliding away from your pelvis. You can rest here, or you can try taking the arms overhead and stretching. The idea is it should feel juicy and restorative, not straining. So I'll talk you through. So come onto your backs. Start with your back flat. Slide one block in the low position, perpendicular to your spine, so the wide part goes across the sacrum. And then take your blanket, and if it feels too high in your position that we just had in there, you can open it. So just so you have a little support, especially if you have a wooden block. If you have a foam block, you might not need that blanket. And then walk your feet hip distance apart, ankles under your knees. Take your hands down on top of your hip bones. And just anchor the back of your sacrum into the blanket. Let the tailbone drop a little bit towards the block. And then take your arms, try with your arms, elbows bent, elbows shoulder height, palms upward. And feel your shoulder blades kind of rolling towards your hips, so the back of the shoulders touch the floor. Gaze towards the chest. Let's check in. How does this feel for you? If it feels just perfect here, I don't want to move, stay there. If you feel like you want to try to bring in a little more space, you can slowly walk the feet out. You can go partway out. The knees can be bent, feet flat on the floor. And you can go all the way out as long as you're able to roll the inner ankles towards each other. You do that actually from the thighs. The tailbone drops. The thigh bones feel like they're gliding out of your pelvis. Hands can stay where they are, they can go overhead at least as wide as your shoulders, with all the fingernails on the floor. So whatever position you've landed in, just bring your awareness back to that gentle and supported arc of your spine. If you don't feel supported with your legs extended, please bend your knees. And find that roll of breath like a wave in the ocean, just kind of rolling up the front of your body. So much space here for breath. And that body really rooted as you exhale. If you're in the extended arm position, gently bring your arms back to that goal post position. And if you're in this extended leg position, gently bend your knees back up. Rest here for a couple of breaths. And then to take the props out from under you, just lift a little bit, slide the blanket out, slide the block out, move enough away from you that you can lower the hips back down with your arms by your sides and not touching anything. And then for now, just extend your legs. Don't worry about any props. And check in with your body. Especially the fullness of your spine. Just noting whether or not you feel both sides of the sacrum evenly on the floor. And adjust if they don't feel even. Noticing your low back, lower lumbar part of your spine. Noticing whether or not the spine between your shoulder blades is on the floor or a little bit elevated because more of the shoulder blades are connected. And noticing the back of the neck. Is it in a neutral position? Is it arched one way or tucked one way? Just notice where you are. If any part of your spine is not comfortable here, use your blankets to support you. So if your low back is not comfortable, put a roll under your knees. If the back of your neck isn't comfortable, put a smaller roll under your neck. And then drop your chin a little more towards the chest. Do it from the back of your skull. So rock on the back of your skull a little bit, chin towards the chest. Again, the skin of the face feels like it's skin of the skull really rolling from the back of the skull down towards your chin. With your eyes closed, your inner gaze, and drop into the chest, the heart center. Bringing your awareness to your breath, gently letting go of everything else. Experiencing each in-breath as an invitation. And just feel every space in your body, every cell with breath. Experiencing each out-breath as an invitation to let go. And to let go of thought, let go of any tension. Even the tiniest fibers or threads of tension that might exist anywhere in your body. Just allow the exhalation of your breath to carry all of that away. Slowly begin to bring into awareness to your outer body. Noticing the touch of your inner skin. The sensation in the center of your palms and soles of your feet. And gently bend one knee up and then the other. And bring one hand to rest on your belly and one hand to rest on your chest. And feeling that smooth and rhythmic harmony between breath and body. And gently roll the knees to the side. And resting for a few breaths. And you press down with your hands to guide yourself back up to a seated position. And finding that space between your ribs and your hips. And bring your hands up by your sides. Take your thumbs back a little bit more, just to remind your body, open the space from the chest, lift the collarbones upward. And as you bring your hands to Anjali Mudra, do so with an intention that would serve you well for the rest of the day, the week, the month, or the year. And bowing in acknowledgement that with gratitude that it may be so. Namaste. Namaste. Guys, we have one more Wednesday. One more Wednesday before we take a break for the holidays. Thank you. Thank you.